I want to bring in prison consultant Justin Paperny to talk more about this. Justin, thanks so much for coming on. Happy New Year. Good to see you. What a case to start off the new year. First of all, your just overall thoughts on this.
So two thoughts came to mind on why this is a prison case. One, in America, very few prison cases are resolved within 6 months. I can only think of like the Matt Boyer, Shohei Ohtani gambling investigation. So 6 months is pretty quick from start to finish. She should feel fortunate to get clarity so quickly. Two things come to mind. One, the reputational damage and embarrassment to the prison system of a video like that going viral, just the damage alone, the staff watching that. So you have the reputational damage together with the risk to guards, primarily other prison guards, because prisoners will find weaknesses in the system and they could see this as an opportunity to exploit the system and make it more violent or greater risk for staff. So that's the reason. Something that probably prison could have been avoided, I think, if this video didn't go viral. The judge saw this as an example, as an opportunity to make an example of someone to punish. And whether it was 15 or 24 months, he wanted prison time. He got it. And I hope she uses this opportunity, as I did in prison, to reflect, to assess how you got here, to make better decisions moving forward, and to not allow 15 months or 17 months on the inside to become a life sentence. This could become a good thing for her, or it can just continue the trauma she has endured.
I thought it was very, very concerning, the idea of her leaving her radio, her leaving her keys, what that could have led to, an escape. Imagine other prisoners are let loose. What could have, happened there? And then also the idea, you put other officers at risk by this behavior, and you're creating distress in their life. That was a key factor that I hadn't, initially considered. I think there's an aspect of this case. You say, oh my gosh, this is conduct unbecoming. How could you do this? But then you think about the actual physical dangers that could have resulted from this.
Right. So her approach could be, this was a victimless crime. It was, I made this choice. It was the other prisoner in me. But the consequences of her conduct within the institution are going to be felt for years to come. There is an opportunity for the prison system to embrace different oversight, better hiring practices, better training, mental health training for prisoners on the inside and staff. But the problem is, I would love to see more money spent on helping people in prison prepare to go home. And then when you have examples like this, they're going to say, we need more security. We need more staff. We need more training. But it will absolutely lead to some oversight within the prison. That viral video changed everything, Jesse, because hardly a day passes in America without some prison guard getting fired for some misconduct, smuggling in an iPhone or drugs, sexual misconduct. It happens from the penitentiary down to the camp. That viral video changed everything, long-lasting implications, including new training practices. Part of the problem is it's hard to hire in corrections, to get someone to work in that in riskier, predatory environment. So there's only so much progress they're going to be able to make. That much I can tell you.
Do you think the sentence is appropriate, not only given what she did, but you heard the allegations that she lied. She said that she was sexually assaulted. She was under distress. And then she ultimately recanted that. And the judge said this is just a long list of inconsistencies. And on top of the fact, there was the whole issue of where she was detained from, right? She was detained at the airport. The judge had said, well, she indicated she was just going to go to Madrid until everything died down, that she didn't really appreciate the consequences of her actions. But then on the same token, her husband allegedly told her, don't turn yourself in. So there's these other things that are amplified after the incident that I wonder, do you think 15 months is appropriate?
I think it's plenty of time. This is going to be a lifelong consequence for her. Even if she got probation or walked out of that courtroom, that viral video will change the rest of her life. It will change the rest of her children's life. So the sentence isn't as important as the collateral consequences that are following. Indeed, had her post-offense conduct, had she not lied, not tried to cover up or make matters worse, it could have been 5 months or 6 months, maybe a sentence she could have served at home. I just pray she uses this as an opportunity to reflect and grow. Sometimes going to prison, I know in my case, was the best thing that ever happened to me, but I was willing to work and assess how I got there. There's the other argument too. If she has this OnlyFans account, you could argue maybe there was some, I don't know about caught, but people are going to see this. This could advance her agenda if she wants to move her business in a whole new direction, which could be possible. So she has choices to make while she's in custody to reflect and atone, or just go totally down a terrible, awful path. But the sentence doesn't matter as much. It's already a life sentence in so many ways.
Let me ask you this. The question, of course, is why? Like, why would she have done this? So the court, the judge, talked about how in her letter to the court, she viewed this prisoner as her protector, that she felt safe. And the judge said this is conceding to the manipulation. Again, something as a guard that she needed to protect herself against, that she enjoyed this sense of power, this grandiose nature of this, your mood changes. She loved working there, that she maybe would have wanted even a relationship to continue with this inmate after he was released. I'm curious your thoughts on that. Is that common in these kinds of cases?
It is common when you're spending time 12, 15, 18 hours a day in a prison away from home. There could be some mental health issues, some trauma, and you form a connection. And it's easy to, there are people in prison who are there because they have manipulated, stolen, connived, done bad things. So some people have a skill set to exploit. And if this woman didn't understand some of her tendencies, it's why so many people go to prison. They didn't know their tendencies. It's why prison guards can get exploited and seize opportunities. What are her tendencies? He was my protector. He was looking out after me. I felt a connection. As a reward or as a way to feel closer, I'm going to engage in this conduct. So you rationalize and convince. As I've said on your show before, you can't get into trouble unless you see some opportunity. I can assure you right now, there's some guard feeling some attraction to a prisoner and might rationalize, this is something I'd like to do. But the majority of them are good and don't seize that opportunity. We can convince ourselves of anything. And I think on the inside, presuming she has some willingness to introspect and self-examine, she'll recognize what she did was wrong. It hurt the reputation of the prison. It's going to lead to risk for more female prison guards and really the lifelong sanction for not just her, but for her children. And I hope she overcomes that and recognizes no rationalization justifies what she did. It was wrong, and she brought risk to other people in that prison, both prisoners and staff.
So I want to play you something right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this appears to be from Abreu's TikTok account from July of 2024. Let's play a sample of that.
On the topic of impersonation, I thought it very important for me to address this very distasteful subject of OnlyFans creators impersonating and pretending to be me and recreating the scenario of said scandal which I am involved in. Very, very distasteful for you to monetize or advertise yourselves as me for OF content.
So Justin, what are your thoughts on that?
You can't undo what's been done. The damage in a viral video is going to lead content creators around the world who are bored or want to advance their agenda or get more likes, followers, and shares. Of course, they're going to create and use this content. In retrospect, what she should have done was understand before agreeing to have sex with this prisoner and then agreeing that it was going to be on film. And even though she says she didn't know that it was going to be shared, please, of course she knew at some point this would be distributed. She's not in a position to undo what's been done. What she should say is, I should have given more thought to how this video would impact my job, the prison system, how people would perceive me. I can't control what people are going to put out there. I wish they didn't do it. I'd ask you to stop, but it's a consequence of my bad choices. Once she looks in and says it's my fault, I'm going to do better. I'm not saying she's going to get sympathy, but people are going to begin to finally say this. She's getting it. She's making better decisions. She wants to stop the madness. Until then, it's going to be more of what we're hearing right now.
That idea of accepting responsibility, because I want to play you a little bit more of this video. Again, this is before her sentence and anything like this. So let me play you a quick clip of this.
And lastly, I wanted to tell you all that you do not know my side of the story. The media has a great way of getting a narrative and twisting it for its own benefit. The media love any story to be salacious and sensational, and they sensationalize everything.
So Justin, yeah, she's talking about her side of the story. We haven't heard her side of the story. She doesn't reveal in this video what that side is, but we all heard what the judge seemingly explained what that was, that, you know, there's this media sensation, that they lie about everything. I mean, the thing is that she did this, Justin, and she knew she was being filmed, and despite her claims that she was under duress, we know the court said that didn't seem very true. I'm just curious, you know, your thoughts on that, because she also said in this video, you don't know who your real friends are. So it was kind of these, you know, these curious things she's saying, but she didn't quite defend herself.
So here's part of the reason she got 15 months in prison. By claiming it was duress, or perhaps she was exploited, what it then does is it puts other female guards at risk if this were to happen in the future. And they then say, I was exploited, I was under duress, someone took advantage of me, that they can then say, well, that's other prison guards said the same exact thing and she got caught. So it makes everyone's case look weaker. To the acceptance of responsibility, when she gets to a point that says, I did it, I knew that it was wrong, I want to do better, and I'm glad you're holding me accountable, her life will change. There's no doubt the judge considered mitigating factors, some trauma, some breakdown that enabled her to cross the line. Judges always consider these mitigating factors. The problem, again, you can't undo this video and her willingness to participate in the video. That undoes so many of her mitigating factors. And in many ways, while damaging and detrimental to her to have this video get out, at least it shines light on the system of corrections. It proves that her claims weren't true. And it's going to ensure that things like this aren't going to happen, at least to the degree they did. To your point earlier about prison guards and their security, it's going to lead to more surveillance, cameras, and that costs money at the expense of taxpayers, perhaps to the detriment of programs that can be put into this prison. So I don't buy her claims because of this video.
By the way, talking about this prison, the BBC reported in an article from this past August that according to the Independent Monitoring Board, HMP Wandsworth, quote, had the worst year in memory, that the 1,200 or so inmates were living in, quote, squalid, dirty, and cramped conditions. We're talking living in crumbling cells that were initially constructed for just single prisoners back in 1851. What do you know about this prison?
Think about how big that statement is. The worst year on record, considering, as you said, this was built in 1851. Can you imagine the conditions in the late 1800s or early 1900s? They were bad. So now in the 21st century, to think that this is the worst year, I've said it before, the prison should be torn down. They should rebuild it. There is no security. There is no oversight. They don't have the resources to properly train staff. There isn't programming for prisoners. The prison should be it is filthy. It is awful. As I have said before, we have had clients go from that prison to Metropolitan Detention Center that is housing Diddy and Luigi. And they would rather be in NDC than that prison in Europe. So to hear this is the worst year on record, considering it's been around since 1851, it tells you everything you need to know about this prison. Tear it down, rebuild somewhere else.
Before we finish up, Justin, I just want to talk more about Ms. Abreu and how she's going to fare in prison, considering, her mental health issues that were documented by the court, what she did, and now a video that has gone viral. How do you think somebody like her will fare in prison? And by the way, she was a former prison guard. I don't know if that would hurt her as well.
Certainly there's going to be more scrutiny over her. What the prison system doesn't want is for her to get hurt, to get violated, to be taken advantage of. So you can expect a great deal of scrutiny. Certainly some prisoners will be sympathetic to her. Others will not be. Others might want to have a relationship with her. So she really needs to understand this environment that she is now in as a prisoner and not a guard. And I will say she has like two roads to go down. She can go down this path of acceptance, or what some people do is they just totally double down and they convince themselves over time they were the victim, they were wrong, they were harmed, the system was out to get them, they took advantage of her. And it's part of the reason some people who even accept responsibility to get a shorter federal prison sentence for the rest of their life say, I am the victim here. It was not my fault. I was exploited. I hope she makes the right choice for her and the sake of her family, but wouldn't surprise me a year from now, she's issuing content or making statements that puts her out there as the victim. It's too common. I hope for the sake of her family, she makes better choices, and she'll have 7 months in prison to begin to get it together. The best day to start is like right now.
Yeah, we'll see if she gets some early release even before that, and what happens and how she changes the rest of her life. But listen, Justin Piperni, thanks so much for coming on, taking the time. Always appreciate your perspective, and again, good seeing you in the new year.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us, and as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.